Greetings and welcome. This is Psychic Medium Roberto, and I truly hope you are doing well. We are guided and led by spirit if we choose. Trigger warning: the subject matter is of a mature nature and deals with true crime events. Disclaimer: all cases, names, people are treated as alleged until proven in a court of law. Disclaimer: all numbers used in this case pertain to the case context specifically and bears no resemblance to similar or same numbers you may have in your date of birth. And the reason for that is we have Lyn Bradley, who disappeared while on a cruise ship. And she's been missing for quite a while. Incident happened on March 24, 1998. So on that date, the ship's dock lock system recorded, they just say Bradley, which is quite rude, because Bradley then is encompassing of the whole family name, Amy, returning to her family cabin at 3:40 a.m. So that's also quite an interesting situation, actually, which I didn't consider. We'll have a look at it because they say Bradley returning. So how do we know which family member entered at that particular time, as an example, right? So the door opens and closes. Yes, I believe they see her dancing. She was dancing till late. Now it says her father, Ron, awoke around 5:30. So that's approximately 2 hours after the door opened and closed, to see her sleeping on a deck chair. However, she was missing at 6 a.m. All right, so we have the 72-hour scan in front of me, and in the time zone where she is reported, Amy, arriving back at the family cabin, we see a 3-24-6. That's a family number, 24-6, 27-9. So because it starts with the 24-6, we definitely have, in my opinion, a family situation. There were, oh, by the way, bigger pardon, for the community member that just recently pointed out the case, thank you very much. Funny enough, before all the madness happened, I had prepped Amy's chart. But I didn't feel at the time that it was ready to go. So your prompt has ignited the episode. You know who you are. Thank you very much. The name was like just letters. So letters and numbers, ones and zeros. So March 24, midnight, March 24, before sunrise, 24-6. Amy, according to the data from the door, 3:40 a.m. and then that's it. So in the time zone, we have 24-6. On that day, we have a problem. We have triple 27 nines, and it happens to fall within a portal sequence. However, in this case, I don't believe the portal sequence is the reason for her disappearance, in my opinion. Hold on, I'm just getting some, no. All right. I don't believe the portal sequence, I would, there's a possibility that it was involved. There was a possibility that the portal sequence or the relevance of the portal sequence in the sequence was relevant in that, and I don't mean to generalize, but apparently there were like bands and she was seen with a band, and this particular date sequence falls just short of a particular satanic ritual. I did factor that into account in the first time I looked at this, but I haven't looked at it since until this morning. And they've just been meditating off and on for the past hour or two while we sort out things in the background. All right, so 27-9, 27-9, 27-9, lots of nines around. Not very good. As you know, currently we're in September. The energy is heightened. the energy is heightened. And like I said before, if it's joy, it's double joy. If it's love, it's double love. Double thick chocolate. Now, as peak as it goes, the trough is as detrimental. And when you have all of these nines around, shit is being thrown around here, right? In the intention, so already this is a problematic day. There's definitely something gone down here, right? So now we need to dig deeper to see who, where, why, and when. I believe the when is obvious. The when is within that time zone as well, in my humble opinion. In the intention, ironically, now we also see again triple 27-9. So this is like double impact. Like if shit's going to go wrong, and if it goes wrong, it's supersonic wrong, right? Unfortunately. Hidden 30 outcome 3. So yeah is a first clue in my opinion. Now let's set context. Beg your pardon, I should have said this up front. Well, I intimated that she was on a family trip if you're not aware of the story, right? Family vacay, 1998. You got to be richy rich if you go on them ships in 1998. So family photographs, they're all the family going out, right? And Amy is around 24 at the time. On the Rhapsody of the Seas. What I did notice, and just to be transparent, what I did notice regarding the photograph, so if you're only listening, Amy is in the center of the picture with her mom to her left, her father standing behind the mom and the daughter, and the son is standing next to the father. Father hand over the son's shoulder, father's hand over the mom's shoulder. The son has his hand far away from everyone and holding onto a rail. Now, if the family, in my opinion, were all hunky-dory, he would have maybe his hand on his shoulder or even close by. Or why isn't mom and daughter interlocked in some way if it's such a good family holiday? The position of the mom's hands or elbows are in a negative position towards the daughter. So already we're seeing grouping effect with the father holding onto the son, holding onto the wife, but no one is touching or holding or, let's say, comfortable, intimate with the daughter. That is my summary based on what I've seen so far. All right, let's dig deeper and see what is going on behind the turtle back. All right. So we got a hidden 30 outcome 3. This would say, because now it's only in the intention, this would say whatever transpired here in the Bradley cabin was as a result of a 30 outcome 3. And we find the 30 outcome 3 conflict in the +6. In the zone where she supposedly comes home back to the Bradley cabin and then is seen snoring on the balcony. In the same position, we have a 30 outcome 3. Given the structure of the family, 30 outcome 3 would denote an older female. One could use the word matriarch, mother figure. So we assume, or we can assume, that mommy, when Amy came home to the Bradley cabin, there was a big powwow, a big blowout in the confines of the cabin. Let's dig deeper. So in the intention was to exact control here. These are very dominating, controlling numbers: 57, 12, 3, 39, 12, 3, 21, 3, 12, 3. So the outcome in the +6, so the action when this door stamp 3:40 a.m., right? We find a conflict, 3 plus 30, outcome 3 conflict. So there's the 3 plus 3 conflict. The outcome is a 33:6. Now we can say 33:6 has many different meanings in different contexts. When we're dealing with family, it means there's a collective knowledge within the grouping, 3 collective, which is 6 family. 6 also brings around the word murder, family murder, murder. And we find the outcome of plus 6, 15:6. That's going to be important. In plus 9, so 15:6, beg your pardon, 15:6, I notice sometimes I just talk numbers, beg your pardon. 15:6 is the number we would associate with brother. Brother in the family context, brother. If it was the father, or let's put it, if it was the father, but let's just say the father figure, in other words, how the father would be represented is 40, outcome 4. So we see him here, 40, outcome 4 in the plus 1 day, so the day after the event, as an outcome, 40, outcome 4, which actually reveals some issues as well, which compounds the issue that, yes, we are on a family vacay, all posh and all, but there are problems behind these smiles. So that's why I have personal issues with a single frame photograph of someone that is a portrait photograph. In other words, in this case with Amy here, she's posing for the photograph, right? She's not doing something or action or thinking about particular stuff. So all your energy is drawn into this one frame in a singular moment. For me, those type of photographs can be very deceiving, as we might know, right? Smile for the camera, and the minute the camera goes away, everyone's fucking grumpy as shit again, right? Oh, do I have to? Okay, so 15:6. So the father would be a 40, outcome 4. All right, so let's go deeper. In the plus 9, all is revealed. When that door opens at 3:40, oof, I just heard a very loud bang on my right here. Behind me. Yo. Okay, let's see. So 15:6, the brother, it can't be the father, the brother, is waiting inside the cabin, or is inside the cabin. Now, does Amy... We can never fully understand what happens in the situation, right? Same as our beautiful Robert Wagner's ex that he threw in the water and drowned her. I keep seeing her face. I don't know. I'll get the name. We can never fully appreciate what happened on that yacht, for example, right? So there's 3 witnesses. Yeah. In this case, on the boats, we have the same scenario. 4 people, 1 doesn't get off. Right? So we can say, I'm getting a lot of visual and audio, arguments fighting. 24/6, we can say, perhaps when Amy came into the room, she may have been a little bit raucous, a little bit loud, maybe wanting to, whatever. Everyone's sleeping at 2, 3 in the morning, and she comes and clangs, bangs, and whatever, right? Then that gets everyone up, and there's a big argument that starts, right? However, I think 15/6 steps up to the plate. There might have been raucous, like collective raucous, but 15/6 steps up to the plate, and we end with an 18/9. For further confirmation that it happens in the cabin and it doesn't go beyond the cabin, trafficking, trafficking, whatever, +6, in the +6, the outcome is a 6, family. Um, so in my humble opinion, the minute that door opened at 3:40, whatever transpired in that room that involved the entire family, we may never fully know, but in my opinion was the beginning end in that cabin. We see, I stumbled on something just before I started recording, right? Because sometimes the lead up and the build up to the day, we'll find answers as well, right? So the event takes place March 24. If we go back to March 21, so in other words, 3 days before the event, right? In the same position as the 24/6, we find a 3 plus 21/3 conflict. So, and I've just looked at Amy's date of birth in private. We'll see, I've been cautioned again, but in private, I looked at her date of birth. It's on the left here, 369. I happen to know someone with similar numbers like this in the real, right? And sometimes people with those combination of numbers can be quite difficult to deal with. And in most cases, they might be boisterous or loud or do things differently or whatever. Is not a cup of tea for most families because, in my opinion, Amy can be quite raucous, right? She's got 8s, not a problem. So what I'm getting to is, if we look in the 369, we find difficulties that, she was her own spirit, her own character, right? But sometimes the wild mare upsets the more tamer ones, right? Let's say that. So we find ourselves, when we have a 21/3/3, and of course that becomes the 30 plus 30 outcome 3 issue, we can say, let's give it one more chance, guys. Let's all go on holiday and let's just get along and have fun. However, the 21/3s also suggest you not everyone's exactly cozy up about the idea, right? So, for example, in the +3 of the day, in the +3 in the middle, in the day position, we find a 12/3. So 12/3 is the opposite of 21/3. 12/3 says everything's comfortable, everything's homely, everything on the surface, everything's beautiful. Everything's fine, no issues, harmonious. Hidden in the +3, 30 outcome 3. Big Mama had a blowout at some point, and then the 21/3 says not everyone is as comfortable as they are. All right. So, and then that outcome gives us the 24/6. So here's another confirmation that the energy is around family. 24/6 is family number. And this is now 3 days before the event, right? 51/6 outcome. 51/6. That's like I want to say destruction of family. So it's not even, so if it was a 42/6, and we have a 42/6 in the action, right? But in the March 21, we don't have a 42/6. We have a foreknowledge 51/6, which is like you are destroying the family physically. Whereas 42/6 in the family context, not the horror shit we've been listening to lately. 42/6 in a family context is like you're divorcing your family. You're walking away alive. 42/6 says you're leaving your family for whatever reason. So at some point, Amy, if there was tension within the home, Amy could say one day, if she's got a 42/6 in a chart, at some point she'll divorce the family, but walk away and carry on with her life. Whereas the 3 days before, we see a 51/6 here. That is like you are breaking the family. And there's only one way to break families that they don't exist anymore, right? 18:9. So we find that again in the 3 days before, all the family numbers. So we can say, so we're looking at tone, right? And temperature going into the day of the event. So there's nothing's exactly, I mean, all families have their thing, right? Right, March 22. So it looks like here's all the adventure numbers, all the sevens, is traveling, vacation, having fun. March 23rd. So here's the first indication that we find a bit of an issue, given the fact that Amy has 8s in her chart and in her +6, that in the middle of the day we find, so this is the day before. This is the day before, 26/8. Now, if there is some awkwardness in the family and Mama Bear has had a blowout before, 26/8 can be, in the negative, a heated argument, things you regret saying, things you can't take back with what you say. If it gets tweaked to its trough, it can even end in violence, those kind of arguments. We've seen it many times on these cop shows, right? Cop incidents. A screaming match ends in a shooting match. So that's the extreme of 26/8, right? And all these 8s ping on Amy as well. So there could be, there's potential of a big argument, and then she maybe goes and blows off steam at the club or whatever, right? But the thing is, when Amy returns at 3:40, Mama Bear has an outburst. So maybe the situation is not as complete as what Amy would have hoped for or thought about. So while she was out having fun, the family, 24/6, since midnight, have been waiting, because the 24/6 starts at midnight, have been waiting since midnight for her to come home. And I believe she may have walked into the situation. And, I've known some people in my past, just as an example, that, and funny enough, both of them are would-be daughters, right? That just because of who they are and who their character is, they were like wild motherfuckers, and would give the family rife. And we've seen in many other cases, how much can a family take after years and years of just sort your shit out and get on with it. You know what I mean? So unfortunately, I do believe, because here's another possible hint. While Amy is out getting drunk and dancing, the family, that same time when she's out partying, the family, there's a 44/8 here. There's a 44/8 here. 44/8 is, let's come up with a plan. And in a family context, it happens. In a family context, the 4 is the family. So given that information, when we look at the photograph of them on what would look like the landing or the ramp up onto the vessel, the father, everyone is hugging each other, and no one is touching or connected to Amy. Why is that? If this was a family vacation and everything's hunky-dory, hey, I don't know, maybe that's just me reading too much into it. But we've seen negative body language towards the daughter from the brother and from the mother, and one can argue the father. But why didn't the father say, hey, come hug your sister, or mom, interlock your arms with daughter? Just as an observation. So in my opinion, we need to rewind time and reinterrogate what actually happened within that cabin known as the Bradley family cabin, allegedly. Bye for now.